Hello, everyone. My name's Jack Holden. I'm 35. Spent 6 years married to Lily. She's 32, but you'd swear she wasn't a day over 25. Gorgeous, magnetic, full of energy. At least, that's how I saw her. We didn't have kids. Wasn't for my lack of trying. I was ready. She wasn't. Soon, Jack, I promise, she'd say, flashing that sweet smile that used to undo me. Our sex life? Amazing. But that wasn't what had me hooked. It was how she made me feel. Her touch. The way she'd wrap her arms around me out of nowhere. The way she'd throw her head back laughing at my dumb jokes. Holding her felt like home. Like, for once, the world made sense. And I believe she felt the same way. Turns out, I was a damn fool. People say the opposite of love is indifference. That's not true. Not for me. The opposite of love is a kind of rage that settles in your bones, that keeps you staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m., fists clenched. If she were burning, I wouldn't waste a spit to put her out. And I know what you're thinking. How the hell did I get here? How does a man go from a devoted husband to someone planning his wife's downfall? It started with a Christmas party. One of those corporate things Lily never missed. She loved dressing up, soaking in the attention, and honestly, I didn't mind it. Watching other guys gawk at her, knowing she was mine, there was something satisfying about that. But that night felt different. She wore this black dress. That dress. The one that clung to her like it was painted on. Maybe a little too much. As we were getting ready, I warned her. Look, Lily, these parties get wild. People drink. Lines get crossed. Just don't do anything that makes me look like an idiot, all right? She just laughed, shaking her head. Jack, come on. I love you. Stop being so serious. I let it go. Trusted her. Biggest mistake of my life. We get to the party, and the first person to greet us? Her boss. Tim Mason. The kind of guy who oozes arrogance. Tall, overconfident, and always standing just a little too close. VP of the company. Acts like he owns the damn world. His wife stopped coming to these events years ago. Probably couldn't stomach his behavior. Lily, he said, ignore me completely as he took her hand. You look stunning tonight. I clenched my jaw, every instinct screaming to wipe that smug look off his face. But Lily just shot me her usual relax, Jack glance. And Tim? He stuck to her like glue. Finding any excuse to touch her arm, lean in too close, whisper in her ear. I told myself it was nothing. That Lily wasn't that kind of woman. That she wouldn't humiliate me like that. At some point, I lost track of her. Got caught up talking with a few guys, trying not to fixate on where she was or who she was with. Then Rachel, one of Lily's friends, approached me. Hey, Jack, have you seen Lily? She asked a little too carefully. She was dancing with Tim earlier, but I haven't seen her in a while. Something in her expression made my stomach knot. She knew something. Didn't want to be the one to say it. I started searching. Told myself I was just being paranoid. Until I heard it. Muffled voices. A woman's voice, breathless, unmistakable. I pushed open the door. And there she was, bent over a desk, her black dress bunched around her hips. And Tim, his smirk disappearing the second he saw me. For a few seconds, I just stood there, frozen. My chest felt like it was caving in. Oh my God, Jack, let me explain. Lily stammered, yanking her dress down, scrambling for words. You got nothing to explain, I said, voice cold as steel. You're done. We're done. Tim straightened up, trying to play it cool. Look, man, let's not overreact. I cut him off. Shut up. My eyes locked onto Lily. You let him? She wouldn't even look at me. Tim took a step forward, like he was going to intimidate me. Bad move. Before he could open his mouth again, I grabbed him by the collar and slammed him against the wall. He wasn't so cocky then. Listen to me, you piece of trash, I growled. You're going to regret this. Not just tonight. Every damn day for the rest of your miserable life. I didn't punch him. That would have been too easy. Instead, I slapped him. Hard. Over and over until his arrogant smirk crumbled into something pathetic. By the time I was done, he was slumped on the floor, gasping, eyes wide with fear. My buddies Eddie and Paul had shown up by then, probably tipped off by Rachel. They stood in the doorway, watching in silence. "Get him out of here," I said, my voice flat. And just like that, Tim was dragged away, his ego in shambles. I turned to Lily. She was a mess. Mascara streaked down her cheeks, eyes red and swollen. And for the first time since I met her, I felt absolutely nothing. "Get your coat," I said, my voice devoid of emotion. "We're leaving." The ride home was silent, except for the occasional sniffle from her side of the car. I kept my eyes on the road, hands locked on the wheel. After a long stretch of silence, she finally spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "Jack." I didn't respond. "Please, Jack, just let me explain. It was a mistake. I wasn't thinking. I love you." That word, love, it hit like a blade, twisting deep. I let out a slow breath. "Love?" My voice was steady, but laced with something sharp and venomous. "You don't love me, Lily. You love the attention, the thrill, the rush of sneaking around. I was never enough. Was I? Just the guy you ran back to when the games got old." She broke down harder. "That's not true. It didn't mean anything." I slammed on the brakes, yanking the car to the side of the road. "Didn't mean anything?" I turned to her, finally meeting her eyes. "You destroyed our marriage. You betrayed me in front of the entire damn company. And you're telling me it didn't mean anything?" She reached for my hand, but I pulled away. "Jack, I'll do anything. Please, just give me a chance to fix this." I shook my head, my voice colder than the night air. "There's no fixing this. You made your choice. Now you get to live with it." But I didn't drive home. I took a detour. Lily noticed immediately. Her voice wavered. "Where are we going?" "You'll see." I didn't look at her. Didn't care enough to. 10 minutes later, I pulled up in front of a quiet suburban house. The porch light was on, a car in the driveway. Lily stiffened. "Jack, what is this? Who lives here?" I stepped out without answering, walked around to her side, and opened the door. "Get out." She hesitated, eyes darting between me and the house. I said, "Get out." Reluctantly, she stepped out, wrapping her coat tight around herself. I took her arm, not rough, just firm enough to make sure she didn't run, and walked her up to the door. I knocked. A few seconds later, it opened. Claire Mason, Tim's wife. Her eyes flicked between us, brows furrowing in confusion. "Can I help you?" I nodded, keeping my voice polite, controlled. "Mrs. Mason, I'm Jack Holden. I used to work for your husband's company. May we come in?" She hesitated, glancing at Lily, her confusion deepening. Is everything okay? Is Tim all right?" I let out a dry, humorless chuckle. "Oh, Tim's just fine. Had himself quite the night." Claire, still wary, stepped aside. "All right, come in." Lily looked like she wanted to melt into floor, but I kept my grip firm and led her inside. Claire motioned toward the couch. "Please have a seat." I shook my head. "This won't take long." I turned to Lily, my expression unreadable. "My wife has something to tell you." Her eyes widened in panic. "Jack, please." I cut her off. "Tell her, Lily." My tone left no room for argument. Claire's gaze flicked between us, suspicion creeping in. "What's going on?" I stared at Lily, unmoving. "Go on. Or do you need me to do it for you?" Lily's lip trembled. She swallowed hard. I barked. Her whole body shook. "I was sleeping with your husband." The words tumbled out, barely above a whisper. "I'm so sorry. I don't know what I was thinking." Claire's face drained of color. Her hands balled into fists. "How long?" she demanded. Lily hesitated. I wasn't about to let her wriggle out of this. "Tell her the truth. All of it." Lily's voice cracked. "Years." Claire let out a sharp, bitter laugh, shaking her head in disbelief. "Years?" She turned to me, her expression a storm of anger and pain. "And you just found out tonight?" I nodded. "Walked in on them at the office party." The room fell into thick silence. Then, without warning, Claire lunged forward and slapped Lily so hard she nearly hit the floor. "You filthy whore." Claire spat. "You can have him. I don't want that cheating bastard anymore." With that, it was over. I left Claire's house without another word, dragging Lily back to the car. She was sobbing, begging, but I was done listening. I drove straight to her sister's place. The entire way, she kept pleading, "Jack, please, we can fix this. You don't have to do this." I didn't look at her, didn't say a word. When we got there, I pulled into the driveway and shut off the car. I didn't help her with her things, didn't offer her a hand. I just reached into my pocket and pulled out the house key, dropping it into her lap. "Don't come back until tomorrow afternoon," I said. "By then, I'll be gone." She gripped my arm, desperate. "Jack, please." I pulled away. "Goodbye, Lily." I started to turn back to the car, then stopped, reaching into my pocket. I pulled out something else. Her panties. The ones she'd been wearing before. I found her bent over that desk. I tossed them in her face. She collapsed, completely breaking down as I drove away. By the time I got home, it was nearly morning. I walked inside, moving through the house like a ghost. It didn't feel like home anymore. It felt like the ruins of a life that wasn't mine anymore. The pictures on the walls. The faint scent of her perfume, still clinging to the air. Everything looked the same, but none of it felt real anymore. It was like walking through a life that had belonged to someone else. I packed quickly, not wanting to linger in that house a second longer than I had to. Before I left, I grabbed one last thing, the framed photo from our wedding day. Not because I was feeling sentimental. No, I took it because I didn't want her to have it. The divorce proceedings kicked off almost immediately, just like I promised. I made it simple, split everything down the middle, no fights, no drawn-out court battles. Just one condition. She didn't contest the divorce, and I wouldn't drag her name to the mud with adultery charges. She agreed. What choice did she have? She knew I had enough evidence, witnesses, proof, to ruin whatever was left of her reputation. And as for Tim, I made sure he didn't walk away unscathed either. I slapped him with a lawsuit for alienation of affection. It's an old law, still on the books in some states, and it was made for situations just like this. I wasn't after money. I wanted humiliation. The lawsuit made headlines. VP of Mason Industries sued by former employee for adultery. Didn't take long for the board to step in. Turns out they weren't too thrilled about their company's name being dragged through the mud. Tim was forced to resign. Something about spending more time with his family. Except, funny enough, he didn't have a family anymore. Claire left him, took the house, the kids, and a hefty chunk of his bank account. Last I heard, he was living in a tiny one-bedroom apartment, jobless, drowning in alimony and child support. Couldn't have happened to a better guy. As for Lily, she thought she'd move on easily. Thought life on the other side would be better. But word of her affair spread fast, faster than she could outrun it. A few well-placed conversations with mutual friends made sure that she didn't just lose a husband, she lost her reputation. Her family, one so supportive, wanted nothing to do with her. Her friends stopped picking up the phone. The dream life she had taken for granted, gone just like that. She reached out to me a few times, left messages, sent emails. "I made a mistake, Jack. I'm so sorry. I'll never stop loving you." I never answered, never needed to. It's been a year now. The pain? Still there, but it's dulled into something manageable. I'm in therapy, working through the anger, the betrayal. But if I'm being honest, knowing they both got exactly what they deserved makes it easier. People ask if I'll ever trust anyone again. Truth is, I don't know. But I do know one thing. I'll never settle for less than I deserve again. Lily destroyed the life we built together. But in doing so, she gave me something I didn't even know I needed, a second chance. And as for her, she gets to live with the consequences of her choices every single day. And that's a punishment I wouldn't trade for anything. See you soon, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel, so I have the motivation to teach and find stories for you.